I do want to ask you, what's your biggest piece of advice for our attorney viewers on how to be both successful and healthy while working in the legal profession?
That is a very big question. And I often get it in the form of how do I achieve work-life balance? And one of the things that I share is I have never found that work-life balance is a single thing that you do. I find it evolves every day, often multiple times a day. My work-life balance as an attorney on Monday looks very different than it does to next Monday or Monday a year from now. It depends on the situation you're in. And I think it's important to build in that understanding that being flexible is important. I think that's hard for a lot of attorneys. Many attorneys are, as you say, very high achieving, very successful, people who have great ideas and think if I just set this path in motion, if I put this process in place, this is how this should continue and this is how this should work for me. If you have kids, that's something that you learn pretty quickly is that you have to be adaptable and flexible with kids. It's similar with your work. And I think understanding that there may be days that you're going to have really long work days, but you also need to then carve out time. You need to put some planning on the calendar. If you're working towards trial for 2 months straight and you've been away and you're feeling like you haven't given enough time to working out, sleeping, eating right, you need to build back in some time for that when you finish that trial. I think there are also ways that I see successful attorneys carve out time for themselves. Not just saying to clients, I'm not available on weekends. I've heard people use that, or I'm not available after X hour in the evening. For most attorneys, that's a pretty hard boundary to set because there will be emergencies that will come up. But I think being available, but being reasonable about what that availability looks like. Somebody texts you, I need to talk to you about this brief. Maybe you're at your kid's school play, or maybe you're out with your partner for a walk that's important to talk about something in your personal life. Can you ask if there's a time you can call back later rather than just jumping on the email, jumping on the call that comes in? Is there a way that you can be responsive and responsible for your client work, but also mindful that if you ignore the needs that you have personally, that's going to suffer in your life. The stress is going to be really difficult. I'm also a huge advocate for sleep and exercise. Those are two things that attorneys cut out right away that really come back to backfire on them. And even if that's just taking a walk around the block while you're on a conference call, or asking somebody to sit outside and have the meeting rather than just being in the conference room, getting fresh air, getting exposure to that. Small steps, even when you're in a very tough, very demanding period of work, can make a huge difference.